Sup, chat? Happy Mushoku Mondays, everybody. Welcome back to yet another Trek the Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation novel series. We are on Subjugation of the King Dragons, part 4 of what I'm assuming is going to be 6 at this point. But it's been a good journey. I've been pretty positive about Subjugation so far. I think, again, I had a little bit of a rough spot in the very first part with the whole introductions. But I think overall I've been enjoying this. I've been enjoying, of course, getting more Alex, getting more into Shiki, getting into Shina, all this stuff. These characters they have a little bit of interest in there. I'm still kind of trying to figure out how they're connected to the mainline series outside of Alex, obviously. Seeing how these individuals might potentially be connected to the mainline series. But overall, it's been an enjoyable ride. And as always, I appreciate you guys for joining me for this ride. But yes, hey chat, welcome to Premiere. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week after Mushoku Monday, and I greatly appreciate your guys' support. All those that visit the VOD later on as well. But yes, most importantly, I greatly appreciate your support channel monetarily through Patreon, tips, links, super thanks, memberships, all that stuff. Thank you. Last week, tons of support. Thank you guys so much. Just all that support rolling in. I really do appreciate it. But yes, Orsid Cultist with 29 months at this point. Thank you so much for long time support. Nicholas with 34 months. Thank you. Savra with a super. Rosewood with a super. Travis with a super. And Hey the Yellow Flash with a big super last week during the live stream. Thank you guys so much. It means a great deal to me that you guys part with your hard-earned money in order to support this and keep it going. But that all said, let's just dive right into it. At some point, it started to rain. She ran into the mud, rain on the mountains. Normally she'd be swearing and cursing the sky, but right now she was grateful. Rain erased footprints and scent. It ruined visibility. It muffled sound. It made tracking harder. It was a blessing for a fugitive. Fugitive? Chiki's just running from a bunch of guys. She's not a fugitive. The muddy ground made it easy to slip. Shiki nearly lost her balance several times, but pushed herself to keep going without losing much speed. The sun hadn't set yet, but it was already dark. Her night vision kept her from losing sight of the ground, but she no longer knew where she was. Still, she kept running, because someone was chasing her. She glanced back. Al was running behind her, awkwardly carrying flowing clouds under... Wait. He did say, let's run together. Okay, so that must have been that whole glance there. It wasn't necessarily saying, okay, Shiki just straight up dipped and left her behind. No, it was, again, the agreement that they had was that he wasn't going to stay behind and get killed for her. It was specifically that he said, no, Shina, we're going to run together. So maybe that's what they're going with here. Like, all of them decide to run together. Al was running behind her, awkwardly carrying flowing clouds under one arm. Shina was following a bit further behind. Okay, Shina's there too, so there you go. Checking the rear while keeping pace with Shiki. Does that death god really want to kill me that badly? Shiki frowned. Wait, does Shiki want Shina to go somewhere else? Like, no, get away from us. No, they want you. Go somewhere else. She knew that wasn't the case. Right before Shiki, the scout, made her escape, Shina had shouted, run. Shiki had chosen to dive straight through the chaos. Al and Shina had accepted that choice and followed her without hesitation. Perfect coordination. Seamless teamwork. Communication was just a glance. There's no way people who'd only known each other for 2 weeks could pull that off, which is exactly why their intentions had gotten crossed. Shiki had only been trying to run away by herself. Not just from the Holy Knights, but from Al and Shina too. Okay, so that was my original thought there, is that Shiki was trying to get away from them, but again, Al had the agreement that they're going to run together, so he's like, okay, let's go with her. She's obviously going the direction we need to go. Oh, that's great. You're not going to outrun Al. Sure, they've made eye contact, but there had been no message in that look saying, we're escaping, follow me. And it's going to turn into a thing that after this whole thing, they're like, good job, Shiki. You took us in the right direction. And she'd be like, no, yeah, that's exactly what I meant to do. Shiki stopped. The other two stopped as well. Did we shake them? Shiki asked casually, pretending that she wasn't concerned in the slightest. Seems like it. Shina said that, glancing behind and breathing a sigh of relief. Al was rubbing flowing clouds back. She'd apparently gotten motion sickness from all the jostling. Well, yeah, there was no way that you could ride such a creature and not get sick unless you regularly rode with wild bulls or something. Shiki and Shina ran with technique, when on mud or on ice. From what Shiki had seen earlier, Al just powered through it. If he nearly slipped, he'd forcibly rebalance with the other foot. If both feet slipped, he'd use his hands to catch himself. No one could do that without absurd balance, leg strength, arm strength, and full body springiness. Could a normal person do all that while carrying someone? No way a human could. Impossible. Well, if they're not fully human, something really was off about this guy. Yeah, it's time to part ways. It's like all that conclusion is, I gotta get the hell away from this guy. He's super crazy. I think that was mostly established in the last Mushoku Monday. Shiki thinks about time. It's about to get dark. Might be safer to camp here instead of heading back to town for now. Shina's words cut in just the right moment. She knows. No. What is it, Shiki? No, it's nothing. That's what Shiki was about to say. She'd almost blurted out that it was time to split up. But what good would it do now? Saying, I'm sick of tagging along with you guys. I didn't want to get caught up in anything dangerous. I'm pulling out. Would be easy enough. But right now, it was almost sunset, and they were in the King Dragon's territory, and Shiki had no idea where they were. She messed up with her escape. If she failed, then the smart thing to do now was to regroup. Think about what to do next. Was the immediate threat worse? Or what lay beyond if she fled? Shiki made up her mind quickly. Anyways, let's get going. Yeah, the rain's getting heavier. Let's find some shelter. Al said that, nodding as he helped flowing clouds to her feet. Shina stared into the shadowy forest behind them, murmuring a quiet, right. Then she looked up at the sky with a slightly tense face, shook her head, and shrugged like nothing had happened. Shiki didn't miss that gesture. Has he just sensed something dangerous? Was the Death God's scythe already resting on Shiki's neck? It's probably just her having to address her past with this guy, obviously. Hey, Knight, I'm leaving you behind. Trying to shake off this unease, Shiki started walking, and so the four of them began walking into the forest under the dark night. With every step forward, Shiki could feel Shina's tension growing stronger as she followed 2 steps behind. The sun had just set, and it was raining. They'd only walked for less than an hour, yet Shiki already felt drained, including the full sprint from earlier. The drop in body temperature from the rain and the visual strain from the darkness were taking their toll on her, both physically and mentally. She'd never been taught how to walk through mountains at night. There were very few people in the world who could walk the mountains as part of their daily life, and even fewer of them could teach it. The mountains were home to dragons, and dragons were territorial creatures, especially the red dragons that inhabited the vast Red Dragon mountain range at the center of the central continent. Set one foot inside that territory, and a whole flock would descend upon you. Compared to them, king dragons were relatively mild in terms of territorial instincts, but if they encountered humans in the mountains, they would always attack. And at night, they seemed to become more aggressive, excited even. The only reason Shiki and the others could walk safely now was likely because the king dragon population had dropped drastically in the past 2 weeks. That's interesting, because I think they only implied like a few of the crowns. Like they were bringing back a few crowns, not necessarily like they're just like culling the entire place. Shiki kept an eye on Shina's expression as they moved forward. She looked uneasy, like something might leap out at any second, like she wasn't sure if she could respond in time when it did. From that expression alone, Shiki could tell, even Shina sensed a danger approaching that she couldn't handle. Hey, Shiki, wait a second. What is it? Don't you feel something bad coming from that direction? As the rain intensified, Shina proposed they change course. It wasn't surprising to Shiki. She'd expected this. Is she sensing... I doubt it's the King of King Dragons, because I'm assuming that you can hear it or something. It's not like he's going to, like, stealthily walk through the shadows. The freaking dragon's, like, hiding behind a tree, and then zooping to the next tree. Do they have assassins that are following them? Potentially some assassins that were hired that are working in the shadows? I mean, I doubt it's Barkle. I doubt it's that Barkle's, like, just chasing after them and hiding in the bushes. I mean, she could be sensing the territory of the King of King Dragons, and she doesn't want to get involved with that right now, but... And again, I don't think she wants to get involved with the King of King Dragons. It wasn't surprising to Shiki. She expected this. But it wouldn't be good to agree here. If Shiki's guess was right, then turning back now would only ensure Shina as the sole survivor. I see. Well, luckily for us, there's a cave right over there. Let's camp over there for the night. Visible in the distance through a gap in the trees was a cave, its mouth gaping wide, broad with a height of over 2 meters. It was a clearly defined cave. Shiki's sixth sense was screaming at her, with danger signals emanating from the cave. Danger, 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 do not enter. That cave is... Well then, let's borrow that for the night. Al said it with a decisive voice, shutting Shina down completely. I don't know. I have a bad feeling about that place. Let's avoid it. Shiki wanted to shout that loudly, just like Shina. Once they got closer, they were able to spell out the reason. First, there was an indescribable stench wafting from the cave entrance. Humans are sensitive to smells. Maybe not as much as dogs, but good enough to distinguish clearly between pleasant and disgusting. That smell meant something was there. She looked up at the cave's rim. It was a perfectly bow-like shape. It's easy to say a cave that gaped open, but such neat and beautiful shapes don't form naturally very often. It looked like something had forcefully carved it open. It was unnatural. Something with gravity magic? Are they implying that something was used here, like earth or gravity magic? She looked down at the ground. There was a single track there. It was like something had been dragged, leaving behind a trench. By this point, it didn't even need to be said. This was a king dragon's nest. Now, saying King Dragon's Nest makes it sound like it had a fixed residence, like animals of the plains, but that wasn't the case. However, at certain times, they would dig out caves like this and live inside them. No one had closely observed this behavior, but based on similar animals, there were some hypotheses. Shiki didn't know all the details, but basically, the female king dragons laid their eggs and raised their youngs in caves. No one really knew when their breeding season was, but who cared? Judging by that smell, this cave was in active use. Oof, well, I'm glad we found somewhere to shelter from the rain. Al said that, sitting down on a dry rock near the entrance, with a cheerful expression. He has no care whatsoever. Shiki's like, holy crap, there's something in there. There's gotta be a king dragon in there. It's not just a king dragon, it's a mama. And you know, whenever you add mama to anything vicious, it makes it even more vicious. Not just a bear, but a mama bear. That kind of stuff. Instincts make them even more vicious and less caring about their own safety. He clearly had no idea what kind of place this was, or he just doesn't care. Flowing clouds, who looked exhausted before, now seemed lively again, poking at a brown lump, probably dragon poop, on the ground with a stick in fascination. This chick's weird, dude. Only Shina had gone pale, her eyes darting nervously between the cave's depths and the outside. It's a rock and a hard place. King Dragon? Barkle and everybody else. King Dragon? Assassins. This was a death trap. Animals raising young were almost always aggressive. King dragons were no exception. Only people got gentler after having children. Some carnivore males would even eat their own offspring, so the females had to be desperate. King dragons were no different. There was no way a few humans lording around the entrance would go unnoticed or be forgiven. Soon it would come out to drive away the intruders from its nesting grounds. Shiki waited for that. She rested her body, calming her mind, and kept her senses razor sharp. This time, she wouldn't miss her moment. She wouldn't mess up. She'd throw Shina at the king dragon. And in that time, she'd run. Here, bait. Anyone who wanted to fight a king dragon could go ahead and do it. That's why Al had come, right? She didn't know how skilled he really was. But whether he won or lost didn't matter to the escaping Shiki. He saved her life. So Shiki wanted to make sure that she held onto that life. Now I think of it. Flowing clouds suddenly spoke up, as if tossing the words out into the air. Man from earlier. Guy who showed up? Guy who killed Rising Sun. The Rising Sun. Shiki knew that name. He was the head of the Mage Guild in the north, and one of the mages she'd seen at the tavern on that day. A well-known figure in the magic world. A master-class combat mage who wielded light and heat magic. So I'm guessing that's going to be healing and fire? I mean, light could be potentially just barriers and whatnot, all that kind of stuff, but it could be specifically healing magic. But yeah, here's a confirmation here. He was there. There's a confirmation there. He was part of that group that attacked. Then that means the Holy Knight Order attacked your group? That's right. Al asked for confirmation, and Flowing Clouds nodded. It was like they'd gotten a confession. Not that it was a surprise. Yeah, after what happened earlier, that's no surprise to anybody. So, it really was Barkle's doing after all. Shina muttered with a scowl. She always got emotional when the Holy Knights were involved. So even the fighting between the Royal Knights and the Blue Leopard divisions was stirred up by the Holy Knights' order? Shiki placed her hand on her chin and mused. Shina reacted like it was the most obvious thing in the world. No doubt about it. She was completely firm in her conviction. She really wanted to blame everything on the Holy Knights. Again, what she experienced before, this is child played. If he pulled off all that stuff with the Holy Knights and got to the position that he is, which again is the second best in his division or whatever it said it was, this is a really high position. He has to pull off some crazy stuff. This is kids' games. This is kids' games. But honestly, I would be more inclined to kill the mages after they beat the King Dragon. So he must have some confidence that he can kill this King Dragons. Or he just wanted to kill these groups. I mean, that could be as well. There could be some division in the Holy Knights that wants to get rid of these very powerful people. So they took out the mage group. I see. It seems like they were dead serious about the subjugation of the King Dragons. If Shiki were the leader, she might have done the same. Wipe out the other groups before taking on the King of the King Dragons herself. No, again, in my opinion, I would let them do it. Let them do it. But again, there's a concern here that you can't keep track of what everybody's doing. While you're over here watching this group, or you're looking for the King of the King Dragons yourself, somebody could end up taking out the King Dragons and walk back to the base before you even know it. So I guess there is a concern here where you do kind of have to take out the competition before it, but I would want to use the competition to either weaken the King of the King Dragons or, come in and swoop and get the rewards afterwards. The Holy Knight's order is surprisingly shallow then. Al said that, looking not pleased. His face said it all. Schemes and politics were stupid, boring, and beneath him. Say what you want, Al, but crushing the competition isn't necessarily a bad thing, Shiki said. Not being able to gauge your opponent's strength? That's what makes them shallow, don't you think? She didn't really get what he meant, but it was clear that he didn't like it. Then I'll just throw the same line right back at you, Al. Shiki said it casually, and Al looked back at her with a puzzled face. No hero worth a name would deliberately go after their allies or rivals first. Maybe those stories just never got told, but at the very least, heroes might outdo others. But they didn't crush them just to stroll up to the top. Al was probably bothered by the fact that the Holy Knights, supposed heroes with no shortage of legends, would do something like that. Yeah, not facing your opponent directly face on, using somebody else, he doesn't like that, obviously. But she's seeing that there's a logic behind doing that. Again, she said, I would probably do that too. It's like, this isn't a tale of legends. And again, a lot of legends probably won't include those details. They did something petty. No, that's not fun. That's not interesting. It doesn't make it sound heroic. Let's take that part of the story out. Right then, Shina's voice cut through, sharp as a blade. Quiet. She pressed her index finger to her lips, closed her eyes, and focused her senses, as if she was trying to catch the sound from far away. Then, without any ceremony, she drew her sword. There hadn't been any killing intent. Otherwise, there's no way that Shiki wouldn't have reacted. She was still a damn good assassin after all. But the blade was already at Shiki's throat. It was a lightning-fast draw. Shiki didn't know much about the Northgard style. It wasn't an obscure school. But Shina's sword-drawing technique was clearly not to be underestimated. Al and Flowing Clouds stared in disbelief. Wait, Shina's pulling on Shiki? Again, she's probably keeping an eye on her. She probably has the same assumption I do about Shiki. What was I saying from the very beginning? My assumption was that Shiki was hired to kill Shina. Because again, it was confirmed when we got to the story of Barkle, is that he was sending assassins after her. She's probably finally tired of it. Like, yeah, it's time to get rid of this thing. This thing's probably trying to get me. Out in Flowing Clouds stared in disbelief. Seems the Holy Knight Order has picked up on our trail. With that many people, one in them surely knows tracking magic, said Clouds. Exactly. So then, why are you pointing your sword at Shiki's throat? Shina lifted a corner of her mouth into a crooked smile, looking down at the short Shiki with a condescending gaze, and said mockingly, I thought I'd use you all as bait and run away. Again, there was a look that she gave at some point that was odd. And I was trying to read it when she looked in the forest after they fled. I was trying to read it, but I wonder. This could be a nasty side of Shina. I like this about Refugin. Like, he writes characters that aren't really 100% good people. Shiki's a good example. Shiki's wanting to look for a way to get the hell out of there. If I had to throw Shina in front of this dragon, I'm going to do it. Shina right now is saying, I'm going to potentially throw Shiki in front of the Knight's Order. These people, in the day, they want self-survival. They've only known each other for 2 weeks. There's no reason that Shina cares about Shiki, besides the fact that she tried to, bang her several times, seemingly. That's a sudden change of heart. What are you talking about, Shiki? It's not a change of heart. You know, I've been hunted by the Holy Knights, and that's why I've gotten this whole Death God's Knight label. I planned to do this from the start. Sorry, but while you lot are fighting the Holy Knights, I'll be making my escape. Shiki had known. She had known, but she thought that it wasn't a big deal and kept quiet. Then, as if he had had enough, Al spoke up, eyes narrowed suspiciously at Shina. I could tell that you two weren't getting along, but you were being chased? That's right. I see. Got it. He's like, all right, I'll handle it. Be right back. Let me go take care of the situation, I bet. With that, Al casually picked up Flowing Clouds under his arm. Huh? Still unable to fully grasp the situation, Flowing Clouds blinked in confusion as Al walked straight towards Shina. It was Shiki who panicked. Wait, Shiki's a hostage. What if she stabs me? Yeah, don't move. Both of them shouted at him at the same time, and Al stopped on a dime. Apologies. You didn't say not to move, after all. He's going to get him on technicality. You never said I couldn't move. You just said that you're going to throw us to the skies. I don't mind. Just slowly step back, and before she could finish, Al moved again without hesitation, grabbed Shiki by the collar, lifted her up, and casually stepped out of Shina's attack range. No, he lifted her up. Like, he literally went over the blade and just lifted her up. Like, he probably grabbed her by the head. God damn, dude. Shina didn't move. Whether it was because the timing caught her off guard or because his actions weren't overly hostile, she remained still. She could feel the cold rain and looked up. Al was making a weird, sheepish smile. Well then, we'll go fight the Holy Knights now. Pardon us. He gave a polite bow and walked away. I love Al so much, dude. I love Al so much. No, this is what happened. He literally just grabs Clouds. All right. Oh, you didn't say I couldn't move. Well, step back. Okay, cool. We're going to go fight them now. There's no confrontation here. Shiki's a hostage. There's no confrontation here. It's, well, I'm going to grab my two girls. We're going to go fight now, okay? You're going to stay here. We're going to go fight now. It gives a polite bow at the end. So stupid. It's so stupid. They moved to a position far enough away that they wouldn't be able to see the cave even in daylight. Then Al set Shiki and Flowing Clouds down on the ground. Shiki wore a sour expression. So, I fail. Shiki's gonna die, huh? Or so she thought. It hadn't gone exactly as expected, but as soon as China realized she couldn't escape, she decided to use Shiki and the others as a sacrificial pawn to make her getaway. She'd probably always done that, always used others to escape, and she was probably watching them now, planning to wait until the Holy Knights found them and a battle broke out, then slip away unnoticed. Again, this is kind of interesting. It gave no... The struggle I'm having right now is the story that was told before. The story of, like, the castle being burned down, and she kind of gets a feeling of going here, and then people were here, and then they couldn't find her, whatever. It never gave an indication during the storytelling of her that she sacrificed people. Just that she always seemed to move when she needed to move. Now, the story about what happened with Barkle was her telling it to Al, so she could have lied there. But all the other stories, or at least that little brief introduction that we got of her, didn't give that sense. So prior to Shiki's perspective that we've gotten with this chapter, it was Shina's perspective. And again, with that, it never gave an indication that she sacrificed people. So I don't believe this. I really don't believe this. Shina's perspective never gave this indication. So I don't believe this. It's just trying to figure out what she's talking about. I don't get it. I don't get why she's doing this. Unless that it's just, she's scared. And again, humans are all about, self-preservation. Even if you have to get rid of people that you've only known for 2 weeks. One being an assassin, technically, that's taken other lives that you can technically see as less valuable than another person, an innocent person. You can see Shiki as having bloodstained hands. In the end, for all of her outrage, she wasn't so different from the Holy Knights, the same breed of monster. I'm curious. It was mutual disgust. Al, that dragon in nest is big, said Flowing Clouds. I know. That's why she helped us escape. She's trying to push them out of the cave? That's a weird way of doing that. But again, she technically was like, I don't like this. Al's like, no, let's go over there. I don't like this. This is weird. I'm sorry, this is weird. But that does explain why Al did this move. Okay, well, let's leave. Like, he's just like, okay, this is what you want us to do. Let's go over here. I know. That's why she helped us escape. Oh, she was doing that? Yeah, probably. Shiki interrupted the sudden conversation between Flowing Clouds and Al. Hold it. Don't go making sense between yourselves. What are you talking about? Explain to Shiki, too. You didn't notice? He didn't sound like he was mocking her, but that one line still pricked at Shiki's pride, which should not exist in the first place. That's what. Shiki doesn't even know what the two of you are. She wanted to complain, but Al's next words erased all thoughts from her mind. That was Kajiku's nest. I mean, I had a thought that this might be it, but I didn't know if we get here quite yet. It makes sense, again, because they haven't really implied they've run into any nests so far. This is the first time they've indicated an actual nest, because they're actually describing it. Kajiku, what was that again? Oh yeah, right, the King of King Dragons, maybe? Ah yes, the name of the King of King Dragons. Dragons didn't give themselves names, but during the Human-Demon War, the Demon God had given each Dragon King a name. The King of the King Dragons, Kajikut. The King of the Red Dragons, Salyat. The King of the Sea Dragons, Redlift. The King of the Black Dragons, Lagorkic. the king of the blue dragons, Ract, and so on. Yeah, I think the only one that I'm like remembering is obviously Kajakut and also Sadiak. I don't recognize the other ones. They've probably been named at some point. Nowadays, the only one still alive was Kajakut, the king of the king dragons. I wonder if Saliak's gone. The others have all been defeated, and each had their own subjugation story attached to them. Kajakut's tale was the opposite, a story of him defeating the hero Lan Zhao. So, what does it mean? What's that death god thinking? Who knows? But I think I heard some kind of rumbling coming from deep in the cave. She's definitely planning something. And the Holy Knights? I imagine they'll be here soon. They've probably already figured out that it's the lair of the King of King Dragons. If we move now, we might be able to avoid them. That explains why everything's happening here, because again, they implied before they left earlier that the King of King Dragon's been found. So this location's probably already known, and those groups were probably coming to this location and then clashed. And then, of course, they came up here, and then... So everything's bottlenecking right here, obviously. They just happened to come by this, even though they didn't know exactly where it was at. What about her? Stuck between dragons and the Holy Knights. She'll probably die. He said it so easily, too easily, and Shiki was thrown into confusion. What does that mean? She had been sure Shina was trying to get them killed. She didn't know the reason, but she had been convinced. She told me earlier, Shina said that if we ever faced danger that couldn't be avoided or dealt with, she'd at least make sure that you and Flowing Clouds can escape. She said that was the reason that she was with us in the first place. That's ridiculous. Huh. What? She joined the group because she wanted to make sure that she and Flowing Clouds got it to escape? Like, is that implying that Shina sees that Al's crazy too? She's picking up the same thing? Flowing Clouds wasn't with them to begin with, so that can't be the reason, but I guess she could be continuing to be with them in order to help them escape. But again, it seemed like it implied that Shina wanted him to escape as well. So it had all been a misunderstanding, paranoia. She kind of suspected, but hearing it confirmed made her feel strangely hollow. Then Flowing Clouds clapped her hands. Clap, clap, clap. The sound of light applause echoed in the rain. In the next instant, the rain grew heavier, loud, pounding against trees, carving little holes in the ground. A rain summoning spell. She had done something with the clouds she controlled. The rain, I made it strong. It'll help cover you. For now. Escape. Good luck. Are you going back, Clouds? Yeah, if I can help. I don't abandon friends, and I want to beat cowards who ambushed us, and I still want to fight Dragon. That was first goal, so it's the same. I see. Then do your best. Flowing Clouds nodded, then splashed through the puddles as she headed towards the cave. This is moving very oddly. I had to kind of look down a little bit just to make sure. I'm not quite sure that Al would say that, but I'm thinking that's what Al said, is do your best. It's like, why isn't Al going, all right, let's go back? But he did technically pick up everybody and leave. I think he's going to do something else. And again, it kind of indicates that later on. So it's not like I'm thinking of this completely off the top of my head. But no, going back, clapping to make the rain work harder. No, she said the rain, I made it strong. It'll help cover you. She's making the rain that's already present stronger. Yeah, the whole clapping thing, that's got to be like an inconsistency here. They've never indicated the idea of just clapping makes spells go more. You're going to have to... Rudius was able to figure out how to manipulate the flow of like the gusts and whatnot and the temperatures and giving it more fuel. But it's never indicated this idea of like manipulating it as it's there unless you're going to use another spell. Could be, but it never had her like actually chant something. So it's interesting that she would be able to control it outside of that. I don't know, there's a chance that, again, back here, these people were manipulating the flow like Rudius did back here. It's just that, they either don't talk about it at the current time or it's lost knowledge. Flowing Clouds nodded, then splashed through the puddles as she headed towards the cave. She was a serious woman. Even if they'd only been in a party for a little while, she wouldn't abandon her comrades. Yeah, that's a big surprise there. I'm not going to abandon my friends. Like, I mean... It didn't quite indicate how long it's been since they've gotten Flowing Clouds in the group, but I wouldn't doubt that that's not very long time, like a week, maybe a little bit more than a week. Shina and Shiki has been with him for like 2 weeks, but Flowing Clouds? And have that kind of connection? But again, I'm kind of assuming there's a break in Flowing Clouds, like something happened back there, a trauma that's really messed with her. But I can more understand the fact that she wants to get revenge. She also wanted to get revenge on the group that had attacked them. And she still wanted to defeat the King of the King Dragons. She only had one life to spend. But if she saw a way to accomplish all three, she would go. Shiki hesitated. She liked to think that she had a strong sense of humanity. Her master had once told her, assassins who get cold-hearted are strong, but they're fragile. If you want to live long, aim to be warm and flexible. That's a very unique perspective of an assassin master, one that would actually want you to have humanity in some way. I mean, that makes sense. The idea that if you are strong-hearted and cold, you're going to be less fragile, you're not going to break as easy, you're going to be able to get through a lot of crazy stuff. But you're going to at some point fall because you don't have some sort of humanity within you. Being warm and flexible is actually good. That's an interesting perspective. Maybe that was part of it, but Shiki had never believed in stepping on others to survive. Two thoughts clashed in Shiki's mind. One said that she couldn't just abandon China, who had been with them all this time. The other said that it was foolish to risk her life over something like that. Both had their points. Yeah, I think the problem that Shiki really has the most of, because this entire time she's been struggling with this. Like, she's looking for a moment to get the hell out of here. Especially ever since her little conversation with Al. It was, I got to get the hell out of here. These people are fucking crazy. And now with this whole involvement with China and the Holy Knights Order, I don't want to be involved in that. She obviously has some issue with these people and they want her dead. Why would I want to get involved with that? I just met this person. It's logical for her to think, I got to get the hell out of here. Like I said earlier, with China. You've only known each other for 2 weeks. It doesn't surprise me that self-preservation says, get the hell out of here. We're not like childhood friends here or lovers or married or, siblings or something like that. I can part ways and be perfectly fine. I won't feel bad about having the blood of you on my hands. Why would Shiki even want to even think about this? Other than the fact that she feels like this isn't right. It isn't right to walk away. There is a sense here within her that just doesn't feel right. Simple as that. People say life is the most precious thing, but even if you survive, it's hard to keep living with regrets and lingering guilt. Yeah, she wasn't the type to just forget. Then Shiki realized something. She actually wanted to go back to the cave, even though just moments ago she had been so desperate to escape. This had never happened before. Her actions and thoughts were out of sync. Again, to everything that she's been thinking about for the last entire chapter has been pretty much get the hell out of here. Shiki's going back too. And yet, those words came out of Shiki's mouth. Over the past 2 weeks, except for that final day, China had never once made her feel uncomfortable. And if that last day had just been a misunderstanding, then the fault was hers. Yeah. Again, she started getting paranoid recently. Even if China wasn't hurt by it, Shiki was prepared to apologize through her actions. The decision was quick. Her heart was made up. She called out to the boy who was standing nearby smiling. All right, let's go, Al. I'm not going. She's like, what? Wait, we're supposed to go like, yeah, let's go. Again, this makes sense technically because, again, before that paranoia hit in, and she calls it paranoia. She literally just said paranoia. Before that paranoia set in, who was always taking the front line? Every time something came, China was always the front. Even Shiki made a comment about it, like, you don't have to save us all the time. China was always the front. She was always protecting them. But all right, let's go, Al. Not going. Shiki's step froze as she was about to dash towards flowing clouds. What'd you say? She could feel her face twist into a puzzled expression. Facial expressions really didn't come out on their own. You're going to abandon the night? Abandon China? Al opened his mouth halfway, letting out a vague ah, like he was choosing his words, but eventually he nodded. It means I'm abandoning her. Shiki pressed a hand on her temple. What was this feeling? She couldn't quite say. It wasn't anger. It wasn't confusion either, but it was definitely a mix of both. China saved you, didn't she? What are you talking about? She didn't save me. Was it Shiki's heart that was cold? Her body? Or was it Al's attitude? Either way, the shock left her mind blank. What did he just say? China had intended to save Shiki and flowing clouds. So was he saying that he wasn't included in that? Disgusting. It's like, I mean, it's the truth. I mean, she's never saved my life. She just jumps forward and attacks things. It's not like she's ever saved me. She had always thought of Al as an idealist, a fool who believed in justice that doesn't exist, a reckless guy who talked about wanting to be a hero. But she'd never hated him. Unlike China, she wasn't above it all. She wasn't as mature as her. If anything, she admired Al's way of life, even found it dazzling. And now that same guy had made some revolting choice. Shiki wasn't righteous. But she was a girl full of dreams. She'd been working as an assassin, a dark and bloody job for years. But she hadn't lost her dreams or charm. Secretly, she had been rooting for Al. Even if he'd eventually get tired of it or give up when reality hit, she wanted him to go as far as he could. This is Al's first fan. And now he'd suddenly turned his back. Was it just to save his own life? No, he probably has his own plans. Like, no, I'm going to handle it over here. Or no, the knights are there already. It could be that he knows that the King of the King Dragons isn't active yet and the knights are there. It's going to be something stupid. This is Refugin. We have to remember, this is Refugin. He likes to do these stupid things where it builds up into somebody thinking about why he's doing something, and then suddenly, no, because the knights are already here. We got to fight them first. Something stupid. Was it just to save his own life? Did he really think someone who could abandon a comrade so easily could become a hero? Al, I'm disappointed in you. Shiki spat the words. She expected the disgusting guy to respond with a shallow smile, even after being told that. But for some reason, Al looked surprised. And that expression slowly turned to sadness. Was he actually feeling guilty? If so, maybe her presence wasn't worthless. Maybe they could go together to help Shaina. She held her hand out. So stupid. You know this is going to be a stupid punchline. It's going to be a stupid punchline. Oh, he's actually feeling guilty. Well, come on. Let's go save them. You realize that you're wrong. If you regret it, then let's go, Al. No, I can't. He said it sadly, as if squeezing the words out, and turned his back. Shiki snorted through her nose. She mocked him in her heart. To her, he looked like nothing more than a boy running away from something unpleasant. If that had always been his attitude, she might have understood. But to act like this only when it mattered made the letdown hit that much harder. And so, Shiki silently turned her back on Al, deciding she no longer had any use for him. I'm surprised it didn't do the punchline yet. There's got to be a punchline. And this is the sad reality. It's like reading this, I know who Al is. I know he ain't going to let this slide. I know he's got something he's doing here. But still. Chapter 6, The Boy Who Was Cast Aside, Part 2. Where did I go wrong? Al asked himself that question. Where did I go wrong? No matter how much he thought about it, no answer came. He wanted to proudly declare, I did nothing wrong. But if that were true, Shiki wouldn't have looked at him with such a scornful gaze. He must have made some mistake. Otherwise, he wouldn't be walking alone like this. Was it about Shaina? No, that wasn't it. On that matter, he could insist that he'd done nothing wrong. Because they had an agreement. If things get dangerous, I want you to leave me and run. Al had simply honored her request. So he hadn't been wrong. Whoa! Okay, never mind. No, I can see this. Okay, I can see this. It's like funny, like the previous chapter, my brain is going... No, he's going to fight something else. No, he's going to say the knights are already there and we got to handle that first. It's something stupid. No, it's just legit. He's just following what she said. I'm following her orders. She said to leave. Again, when she agreed to join, it was on the understanding that if something dangerous happens, he would flee. But again, they indicated the idea that he said we're going to run together. So, he hadn't been wrong. Then, where had the mistake been? Probably thinking it literally. Like, it was a decision made back then, but you don't hold to it. It's really what it is. Al's father had been a kind man and tolerant of failure. Don't fear failure. Don't regret failure. Don't blame failure on luck. Every failure has a reason. Understand that reason and apply it next time. But he was strict when it came to success. Don't bask in success. Don't get drunk on it. Don't assume success was due to your own skill. You succeeded because you were lucky. Analyze your actions, identify what parts relied on luck, and improve them next time. I was about to say, I don't agree with that, but then it kind of changed a little bit there. Is the idea of acknowledging what parts of your actions was based on luck. That when you succeed at something, there's some luck in it, but you need to address what part of what you did could have been luck so that you can improve on it. That way you don't always rely on something that technically shouldn't have actually worked. If you step to the left, step to the right, and slashed, potentially the left part was just luck, and you need to do something else there. He wouldn't scold him for repeating the same mistake. He wouldn't even tell him what he'd done wrong. That was his father's style of education, and his mother never objected to it, which is why Al thought like this. There's always a reason for failure. That much is certain. There's no such thing as failure without a cause. You're not going to get much out of the mom. She's going to be the type of, like, knock you down. Do you understand? knock you down. Do you understand? I guess that's technically what they're implying the father was like too. But it seems like a lot of it is around the idea of acknowledging mistakes. Kind of, again, analyzing what you're doing and acknowledging there is an element of luck there. But again, always learning from mistakes. I think that's a big part of it. I think that's always an element of learning from mistakes. But no matter how much he dissected his actions, he couldn't figure out the reason. So he kept thinking, walking through the cold rain, drenched to the bone, he kept thinking, yeah, there's a serious element here of lack of humanity. But again, this is an element that somebody that has a bit of demon blood in him. It was after walking for half an hour that he found the group. A single campfire was glowing in the darkness. A campfire in this rain? Puzzled, he approached, only to find water-resistant clothes tied between trees, forming what looked like a massive roof. Beneath it, a large campfire burned. Judging by the sharp crackle of the green wood, they were tossing freshly broken branches straight into the flames. A gathering around it was an overwhelmingly intense group. Muscular, bare-chested men stood with arms crossed in front of a fire, while others sat in neat rows before them. A few women were in the mix, but all of them were muscular enough to make a sailor blush. A martial arts group, Phoenix Nest, embodiments of fist, who shattered everything with their bare hands. I completely forgot about this group. I completely forgot about this group. Come to think of it, Al realized that he'd never seen them in town even once. Could they really have been camping in the mountains like this for the past 2 weeks? That theory gained weight as he got closer. Behind the neatly lined up warriors was a huge object dumped on the ground. A lump of meat, a king dragon's corpse. As he approached even further, he saw in front of the seated group were 2 dishes. One plate piled with thick bones and meat. The other with wild grasses and mushrooms that looked freshly picked. Self-sufficient, the word came to mind. A bare-chested man standing with folded arms before the fire turned around. His eyes met Al, who was soaked like a drowned rat. Well now, if it isn't Sir Alex. Hey, Feng Li. Long time no see. Al called out to the man, expected to be the next leader of the Phoenix Nest, in a friendly manner. Interesting. If you considered the King Dragon realm to be a capital city, then Al's homeland would be the countryside, and Alex Ryback, also known as Al, would be the son of a provincial lord. He and Feng Li first met as children, back when the current Feng's Nest leader, Feng Li's father, Feng Li, traveled the world on a training journey with his children in tow. The 2 boys, the same age, had bonded back then and remained pen pals to this day. It had been years since they last saw each other. So I'm guessing this dude traveled all the way to the Demon Continent and I don't know, went to go see Etov or something, like went to her place and then ran into him as a kid. I mean, she may have opened her door to them if they were just training or whatever. I'm not sure that she'd let them leave. Feng's increased muscle mass had made him difficult to recognize from a distance, which is why Al hesitated to call out to him in the tavern. You're a cold guy. I recognized you right away back at the tavern. You've just gotten too buff. Doesn't all that muscle slow you down? Those muscles, they look heavy. A heavy fist requires a heavy body. My muscles are perfectly balanced and flexible. Sure, they're heavy, but they're elastic, like springs. Once I move, I'm swift as a monkey. Feng laughed loudly, slapping his biceps with a bam bam. Some of the disciples, perhaps his students, were eyeing him from the side as they did their post-meal muscle training in pairs. Feng Li's current title was acting master of the martial arts group, Phoenix Nest. Even if it was a hereditary role, bringing disciples on an expedition like this was something only someone with real skill could do. Before long, one of those disciples stepped in front of Feng. Master Feng, that person looks like a swordsman. May I ask what your relationship is? We've been friends for the past 10 years. Forgive me, Master, but we are constantly taught not to associate with weak sword users. Are you sure this is acceptable? The disciple's arrogant tone caused unrest amongst the others. Can he really speak to the Master like that? And yet the man stood tall, glaring down at Feng with a haughty disdain, his expression saying, I'm not wrong. From Al's perspective, that disciple looked overwhelmingly strong, probably a top student. From your point of view, even Alex Ryback must seem like a weakling swordsman. How long do you truly understand what your master meant by do not associate with weak swordsmen? Yes, it means that befriending someone who relies on a sword, a weakling, won't help one grow. Good. So then, what kind of person would you say relies on a sword? That would be someone who doesn't train their body and only seeks superficial techniques and weapon quality and power. A person with shallow thinking. Very good. And now, Feng glanced towards Al. Do you think he's one of those shallow swordsmen who only relies on tricks and sword quality. It was a gesture, like brushing away a mosquito. As Fang swung his arm, a loud crack echoed, like a snapping dry branch. The disciples all instantly recognized it as a full-powered backhand. Something flew horizontally through the air and slammed into a tree. A sudden downpour of water from the branches made it seem like a mini squall had hit. What just happened? I'm like, I paused a moment here, like, what is Refugin implying that happened right here? He gestured towards Al, like, you think he's weak? And that gesture, like, was so, like, swift, it caused a shockwave? But it says something flew horizontally through the air and slammed. Did he throw something? Like, what did he throw? What is going on here? I doubt he threw something. If they're so about muscles, why would they be throwing things? They would be all about just pure punches and stuff. Having a weapon in general seems like it's a weakness. What are we implying here? I don't get it. I'm not too sure about that yet. After all, we've only just reunited after a long time. Fang shrugged as he said it, and Al, who had been blown under the tree, got up, holding his nose, and quickly returned towards the warmth. I can't envision this scene at all. Like, I'm having a lot of trouble envisioning what's happening in this scene. Al shows up. Fang's talking to How Long, and How Long is saying that Al is weak. He's saying, I'm not sure if he is. He threw something? It seems to imply that he threw Al. Or did he just swing, something hit the tree, and that wind gust knocked Al over? Did Al get thrown? It was the thing that was thrown, was that Al? And now Al gets up? And because it says under the tree, so I'm assuming it was Al that was thrown. He got up and he's holding his nose. Does it stink or is he bleeding? Is his nose bleeding? He's returning back to the warm fire? I don't understand this scene at all. Fang, that hurt. It's your fault for not dodging. That's fair. How Long, the disciple, looked pale. The other disciples had gone silent. A hush fell over the group. Fang continued the conversation like nothing had happened. Sir Alex, you came to defeat the King of the King Dragons, didn't you? Al also responded like nothing had happened. Yes, that was the plan. Are you seeking revenge? No, I want to be a hero. Now, that sounds like Alex I know. Then I shall support you wholeheartedly. He slapped Al's back hard and burst into a hearty laughter. And Al didn't mind it at all. There was no mockery in that laughter. Fang was cheering him on genuinely. I appreciate the support, but is something troubling you? Yes, I was planning to defeat the King of the King Dragons and become a hero, but it seems I've already failed. Even my companions have turned their backs on me. Al's smile was self-deprecating. It is kind of interesting right here, the idea that of everybody, he's like, he completely understands him, knows him. Because again, this is somebody that he apparently has known for a long time, and he probably knows that Al's being genuine here. That this isn't just some sort of delusions. With everybody else who just meets him, they think that he's messing around or he's being foolish or something like that. No, this guy's like, no, I know Al. He wants this. This is what he wants. I'm going to help him with it. So it's kind of cool that now he has this group that can go in there with him, but yeah, his problem is that he feels like he failed. It's interesting that he's saying that he's already failed when technically his mission is to take out the King of the King Dragons, not to have a party. Like, I would assume that when he first came here, his intention was to go in there alone and defeat the dragon. So why does it matter that he loses his companions? Unless he feels like this is not going to be good enough for a heroic tale. Because he lost them as companions, it's no longer heroic. My grand tale of getting companions and taking on the dragon is failed now because I'm a loser. I lost them. At this rate, even if I defeat the King of the King Dragons, I don't know if I'll really be called a hero. And not knowing where I went wrong, that's the worst part. How do friends work? How do companions? If it's alright with you, I can offer some advice. Tell me more, Sir Alex. When troubled, it's best to settle your body, settle your mind, and talk to someone. Come, have some dragon meat. We came all the way to this mountain on a picnic to eat dragon meat and become strong like dragons. We've got plenty of time. This has nothing to do with the King of the King Dragons. Even if it takes all night, I'll hear you out. Yeah, the way this is playing out is that these dudes are just here to eat dragon meat. They don't care if they kill the King of the King Dragons or not, which sucks because if they end up getting killed over this whole, like, this competition, it's gonna suck. But, like, these guys seem cool. Like, they just came here to eat dragon meat and get strong. If they win, they win. They're just over here chilling. Over here, everybody's fighting over the King of King Dragons. They're over here chilling and just slowly cooking meat. They got given permission to go up in this mountainside, and they're just chowing down. And so, Al talked about the two women he met on the way to town, what he had done over the past 2 weeks, and how he had just parted ways with them. Once he started talking, It didn't take long. Feng understood everything in a short time. And just like when he questioned his disciple earlier, Feng smiled and asked, Sir Alex, what do you think a hero truly is? Someone who defeats a monster who even an army can't beat? Feng nodded magnanimously. That is certainly one answer. But not all who slay monsters are called heroes. So then, what is the difference between those who are and those who aren't? Al faltered at that question. I don't know. Yes, that was it. That was what he didn't understand. He had a feeling that even if he defeated the King of the King Dragons now, he wouldn't be called a hero. That's why he was struggling. Feng gave a simple answer. I'm surprised that... Again, this goes back to this whole, long concept that was between Al and Alec. His son had the same problem. This misunderstanding about what a hero is. Again, the way they kind of early on was talking about with Alec was the fact that he was going out to the Beggar Continent. He wanted to defeat one of these massive behemoth things, and he felt like that was going to make him a hero. But it wasn't. He's killing it to kill it. These people aren't going to see it as a heroic deed because in the tales that were done before, it was the case where the behemoth attacked the people. The people were constantly in fear of this thing. It was this threat to a large group of people. So it was seen as heroic when they took the damn thing down. With Alec, he just killed it because it's big. And it's one of those things in the book. Not that it was dangerous. He didn't know what made a hero. A hero is somebody who is saving lives. And in a lot of cases, enough to be told a tale of. In a lot of cases, it's going to be somebody significant that was saved or a large group of people. Enough to spread word of your deeds. So with Alex right here, he's having that same difficulty in understanding what makes a hero. It's not just some feat. But it's interesting that it's playing it out like because he lost his companions in a disagreement, it's going to ruin that tale. I don't think any of this has anything to do with anything. Even the case of taking down the dragon, I don't think makes a heroic tale. It's a feat, but I don't think it makes you a hero. So there's a question mark early on here if this is even a heroic deed in general. It could be if he goes back there and saves the companions. Feng gave a simple answer. Companions. Even if you slay a powerful monster, if you do it alone, unseen, it would be just a monster fighting another monster. If no one tells the tale, it means nothing. A monster fighting another monster? Exactly. To ordinary people, anyone who can slay the King of the King Dragons alone is no different from monsters themselves. That's actually interesting to bring up right there, because this sort of was something that was implied with Shiki. Shiki seen something in him. She was terrified of him. And it kind of implied there that he is a monster. The idea of an individual able to take down a dragon alone made them a monster themselves. And he's sort of saying the same thing here. You can go defeat it, but everybody's going to see you as a monster. But if you went with companions, they would tell the tale of everything that happened during it. They would show the humanity within the battle itself. That he came down with his blade. He shielded his companion. It was a brave, epic fight. They'd be able to tell the play-by-play, not just that something happened, but that a human was there. It's because one stands with people, fights for them, and defeats the monster. That's what makes someone be called a hero. So then, my mistake was, yes, keeping your promise so earnestly, and abandoning that female knight. That was your mistake. Al stood up. He couldn't stay here any longer. Now that he understood, his next action was clear. He couldn't sit still. He bolted off immediately. Thank you, Feng Li. You were a great help. The members of the Phoenix Nest watched in stunned silence as Al's back disappeared into the night. How long? The disciple who had earlier spoken up asked with hesitation. Who was that? He's a naive, sheltered, rich brat who doesn't know much about the world. Master, you say that, but he just took your full-powered punch, which is capable of shattering rock to dust, and he got up like it was nothing. How Long's voice was still trembling. Well now, I only know Alex from years ago, and just like I've become an acting master, it wouldn't be strange if he became a hero too. And if he doesn't? That just means I have no eye for people. I'll give up my title as acting master and set off on a training journey. The rain poured harder, as if stirring up everyone's unease. Feng Li, a veteran martial artist with dozens of disciples, laughed. He laughed as if, by the time the rain cleared, a new legend would be born. Like he's saying with full confidence, he's gonna become a legend. He's gonna become a hero, and it's probably gonna happen before this rain even ends. It's already set in stone. Dude gonna go kill that dragon. Again, it's funny because Feng and all of them are just there to chill. I'm still stuck on it. The fact that these muscle-bound dudes came to that inn, got the directive from them to go kill the King of the Dragon, and they just been chilling up in the mountain eating meat. And right here, again, Al's supposed to go off and kill the dragon. He knows Al knows where it's at. I left my friends at this cave. Al told Feng everything. which includes the caves over there. My companions are in it, and the King of the King Dragon's in it. And things like, all right, peace out. He knows Al's going to kill the damn thing. He knows what Al's capable of. So that's kind of funny. It is super cheesy, though, the fact that Al just needs to talk to this guy, and he's like, oh, you should need your companions, and then you can do it. Okay, I'll go. Yeah, he's a sheltered rich brat. I don't get the impression of living in the castle with Atafe and it being like some sort of like rich noble mansion or something like that. Again, it seems like it indicates a lot in this entire novel that he's just a rich boy from a countryside, not necessarily from the Demon Continent, which is a lot to be, people being misconstruing where he's from. But with him, this guy's been there. This guy's literally been there. So it's a little bit different. I've gotten the impression that Al is the way that he is and Alex the way that he is because they're foolish demons. They've got the blood of Atafe in them and it makes them goofy. It's like I said earlier, I think when we first got really into Atafe, is that I get a lot of similar vibes from her and that family as I do with really like the Tanukis from Eccentric Family. Go watch it if you haven't watched it, by the way. It's amazing. In Eccentric Family, they're Tanukis, and they have the fool's blood in them. So they see things really oddly. And it was something that, honestly, the first time I watched the series, I hated. I didn't like the show. I think I even dropped it at some point. And I went back and I watched it again with the mindset of these are fools with fool's blood. The fool's blood actually affects the way they think, and suddenly everything clicked and it made sense. The foolishness made sense. It wasn't that I was excusing everything they did and just getting rid of all logic and storytelling and it's just excusing it as, well, it's the fool's blood. It's more of an idea that I see a logic in foolishness, if that makes sense. I had the same feeling with Atafe. Again, getting into Atafe and her desire to seek out this thing that her father did. She wanted to understand her father. And the moment it got into that story about Atafe, suddenly everything clicked for me as to why she acts so foolishly in the way that she does. She's trying to play out the same story. She's waiting for that hero to show up. She wants to play everything out the same way because she wants to understand her father. Here's the same thing. I'm trying to figure out my dad. This is the same thing with Al. I want to figure out why dad. And now I'm trying to figure out why hero. Now I'm trying to figure out why I'm failing at being a hero. It seems simple. It's simple to this guy, but it's difficult for Al. Chapter 7, the King of the King Dragons. I know that I'm not going to get through this entire chapter because this one's a long chapter. This is like almost a Mushoku Monday in itself length, so we'll see how far we can get in this before we have to call it quits. Flowing Clouds was a lower-ranked combat mage. Her real name was Frau Claudia. She was earnest, a liar, and an ambitious person. Frau Claudia's life so far shone as brilliantly as a first Manitou star in the sky. What? Her life so far shone as brightly as a first Manitou star in the sky? I guess that's the brightness of it. It makes sense. At the age of 3, her magical talent was recognized. At 3? Like Rudius levels here. As she became the apprentice of the highest ranked combat mage of the magic organization, Order of the World Tree. At 6, she began studying magic in earnest. By 10, she was recognized as a beginner mage, and by 13, an intermediate tier mage. Okay, that's where Rudius got you beat. She was 7 years ahead at an average pace. At 16, though still young, her skills were already at the level needed to qualify as an advanced tier mage. With that certification, she'd be considered an intermediate tier combat mage. And once you reach that level, you are treated as a full-fledged mage. You can go freelance or get hired by a country. You'd be paid far more than any half-baked mage. The gap between low tier and mid tier was like the difference between a child and an adult. Now, in order for her to take the advanced tier magician certificate exam, she needed her master's approval, but her master was currently in a very difficult position. Dead? Is he dead? The mage organization, the Order of the World Tree, being an organization, had its own factions. The two major ones were Sun Faction and Moon Faction. Frau's master, a top-ranked combat mage, was a senior member of the Moon Faction. That Moon Faction had been losing capable personnel to the Sun Faction's behind-the-scenes scheming, and with that, major jobs began to dwindle. The Moon Faction was being pushed into a corner, and this was their attempt to get out of it. In the midst of that, When Frau expressed her desire to take the certification exam, her master said, "I don't have time for that right now. And besides, you could stand to build some stamina first." Frau panicked. If the factions were to collapse, her master would be at best cast out, at worst lynched, and she, as a disciple, would be expelled from the organization. She was already disliked by the disciples of the opposing faction's senior members. She had to take the advanced tier mage exam before that happened. If she didn't, she'd have to find another organization, another master, and redo the certification process from scratch. Girl's in a bad spot. At least as it feels like she's like, I just got to dip. Master doesn't want to help me out here. I gotta get the hell out of here. You're gonna leave me dry here, man. All of her past efforts would go down the drain. That couldn't happen. Frau had a dream. She wanted to become a rich mage and build orphanages all over the world. To make sure that dream didn't die, Frau joined the mission to subjugate the king dragon. Interesting, because again, there's very little talk about orphanages in this world. So that tells me that she didn't really succeed too much. Didn't succeed too much here? She had already accomplished her real goal. She handed a bribe to Barkol of the renowned Holy Knights Order, and on the very first day, got him to attack Rising Sun. What? 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 Girl nasty. Got him to attack Rising Sun, a top-ranked combat mage in the Order of the World Tree and the leader of the Sun faction. He killed not only him, but also several other senior members who were there. The miscalculation was the timing. Barkol launched the attack in the evening and was far more ruthless than expected. The entire mage group was wiped out. Frau almost died too. I probably think because he's already planning on doing that. Barkol was already planning on taking them out, and she just paid him to do what was already being done. But that was her own mistake for not moving herself to safety. Barkol hadn't broken any promises, and Rising Sun was dead, so it was fine. Telling Al and the others that Barkol did it was just a small act of revenge. This girl nasty. Frau is nasty, dude. This chick is nasty. Man. We just finding out the puppet master of this whole thing is the girl who's acting like she can't. I mean, she could literally have that speech problem in general, but like, I'm getting a sense here where this girl's like putting on an act. She's actually crazy. But no, telling them that as a small act of revenge. There's no honor in thieves and fellow thieves, right? Now then, having run out of both mana and stamina, she was lucky enough to be saved by a dreamy fool. But she realized she couldn't just go home empty-handed. If it looked like she'd run away without even seeing things through to the end, it would disgrace her master. Worse yet, being the only survivor might make her suspect in the others' deaths. At the very least, she needed to walk away, having participated in the fight against the king of the king dragons. Even if she didn't land the killing blow, as long as she could say that she fought to the end, it would save face in the organization. If that happened, even the Sun faction wouldn't be able to criticize her directly. Which is crazy that she was able to get this other individual dead. I'm more surprised the fact that she was there with the Sun faction's leader. You would think that the Sun faction leader, if they came here, they would have brought all of their members. It's kind of odd that she was brought there. Which is why, right now, Frau was fighting the king dragon. He was only one size larger than a typical king dragon. Interesting. But compared to the 3 dragons she fought on the first day, his movements were clearly more seasoned, using the space of the narrow cave so efficiently it almost seemed spacious. His weapons were his disproportionately small but sharp claws, gravity magic, and fire breath. Reload. Strong. So this is the king of the king dragons. We're there? It's happening? Okay. She thought as she reloaded mana into both legs with her right hand. Her left hand, holding her staff, was already charged with the most powerful water hammer spell that she could use. Reload? Putting mana into both legs with her right hand? She's reloading her legs with mana? Huh? That's weird. It's almost like another way around the battle aura thing, because the battle aura is always the idea of using mana to infuse your body to make it stronger. And it's almost like injecting straight into your legs the mana to create the similar effect, but it's just your legs for a temporary time. It almost gives you that feel. Her left hand, holding her staff, was already charged with the most powerful water hammer spell that she could use, glass-style battle magic. This combat technique uses the arms and legs to fire bullets. It involves loading meaningless mana into 4 limbs with a half incantation, and then completing the spell just before use to give them meaning and fire them. That's actually very interesting. Like preloading a bit in there, but then finishing it later? That kind of idea? That's interesting. There were 3 uses for these bullets: attack, defense, and movement. The left hand, holding the staff, can handle the most powerful magic due to the staff acting as a medium. Frau had stored her strongest attack spell there, so she could unleash it at a perfect moment. Move. Claws came slashing down. She gave meaning to the mana in her right leg. Ignition. She launched sideways like a bullet. Fire. Penalty. Just as she landed, she activated mana in her right hand. 3 fireballs flew at the King Dragon in different trajectories and exploded. They managed to cause a bit of stinging pain, like a mosquito bite. She concluded the damage was negligible. All of her fireball spells were designated for fighting humans, not large creatures at long range. The water hammer spell, meant for large creatures, had 0 range. It was a sure kill spell that boiled the target's blood instantly. What? A water hammer? The brain thinks like, okay, the staff, and it's got this like big like head to it that will just slam down on something. But I'm guessing it's going to have like insanely hot water that it boils the blood instantly. But she couldn't close the distance, as expected of the King of the King Dragons. He wasn't stupid. He wasn't the type of creature to let a mage with a one-hit kill spell get close. For a moment, she wondered if she chose the wrong spell, but shook off the thought. Among her spells, there was no other that could kill a dragon in one hit. Reload. She reloaded the mana into her depleted right hand and foot. Stalemate. That word started to creep in her mind. Without landing a decisive blow, she was slowly losing stamina and mana. Daria! It's the Daria again. Daria! Daria! To cover for Frau as she reloaded, Shina swung a one-headed sword with a roar, leapt forward, and struck. I was kind of starting to wonder where Shina was. Her blade hit near the dragon's front elbow, letting out a metallic clang and sparks as it made a shallow wound. The sparks were proof that magic had deflected the strike. The King Dragon constantly covered his body with gravity magic as armor. Sword techniques use skill and sword aura to cut, but their impact gets reduced in power when clashing with magic. I'm guessing sword aura is battle aura. Shina's strikes could only deal physical level damage. Her strength wasn't enough to pierce the dragon's hard hide. To follow up, Shiki threw a knife in support of Shina's full force attack. She aimed for the eyes. It was one of the few spots not covered by tough skin, but dragons had eyelids too. With a light ping, the knife bounced off, but it still served as a brief distraction, letting Shina to retreat to a safer distance. They lacked finishing power. Though they were landing small hits on the King Dragon, they were burning through stamina and mana in return, and even if the cost and damage were equal, the King Dragon, being much bigger than the 3 of them combined, had a vastly greater reserve of both. Frau clenched her teeth. If only she had a bit more mobility, she might have been able to land that killer spell. Like your master was telling you, get that more stamina. Work on your stamina. It's all coming back to you. Your master's words are coming back to you. Without the movement granted by grass-style battle magic, I'm guessing that's like earth magic, Frau was just an ordinary girl her age. Come to think of it, her actual combat experience could be counted on one hand, and in every battle that she fought, they had overpowered the enemy with numbers. She had never even fought a 50-50 match, let alone a losing one. Being in a situation where taking just one hit could mean death was far more exhausting than she expected. Yeah? Cloud, you okay? China asked with concern, glancing sideways at her, but Frau couldn't even reply. The words her master told her before she left to fight the King Dragon came back to her. You should build up more stamina. There it is, right there. There it is. You should build up more stamina. She scoffed at the time, but now she regretted it. If she had done a little endurance training, she wouldn't be panting like this right now. A combat mage needed stamina for long battles too. No matter how strong your burst of magic, without the power to last to the end, you'd just get worn down. Even though Shina and Shiki were moving 3 times faster than she was, they still looked fine. Especially Shiki. She'd been sprinting nonstop, distracting the dragon, and even had a slight smile on her lips. Shiki's combat style involved running around at high speeds and throwing knives when she saw an opening. Each knife had extremely thin strings attached. If it missed, she'd reel it back and fire a hard-to-predict follow-up. Depending on the knife's shape, the centrifugal force could even pierce armor. But still, the firepower wasn't enough to harm the king dragon. After all, it was a technique designed to kill humans. Shiki ran around, throwing knives, occasionally mixing in feints to dodge the dragon's attacks, supporting China as she slipped through gaps to strike. I have to move, Frau thought. Getting left behind is getting left behind. Her legs were trembling violently, partly from exhaustion, partly from fear. She shouldn't have come all this way just to protect her master's pride. She should have just gone back to town with Al. She felt that from the bottom of her heart, but regret was pointless. I must move. I must move. I must move. Interesting. Again, I love this. I love that in the moment of this right here. Again, she chose, I want to be there and help out a friend or whatever. I can't just abandon this girl. This feels wrong. She's doing this for me, this kind of stuff. Haven't desire to go back and help. But again, feels like there's a lot to hear that's not to do with China. It has to do with her master. And I like her here, she's even having the regret in her mind of, God, is this really even worth it? Like, at this moment, is this really even worth it? No, I probably should just go back with Al. Like, I wish that I can kind of walk out there and reverse, go back a couple minutes and just leave. But there's no point now. Go with it. Whoa! China's slash gouged in the dragon's underbelly, one of his softer spots. Struck in an area unprotected by his tough hide, the dragon screamed in pain. Wow, she got a hit in. We did it, Frau shouted without thinking. But the next moment, she realized it was a mistake. China's skill was high, but technique and magic were evenly matched. With her lack of strength, she couldn't even pierce the dragon's belly. Her sword was stuck, and with that her movement stopped. Her slash gouged into the underbelly, but she couldn't pierce the dragon's belly. She gouged, but she didn't... Okay, she cut him, but didn't cut him. Just as Frau realized things were bad, China took a direct hit from the dragon's intense gravity magic from above. With a crude groan, she slammed into the ground. The dragon's foot lifted. He was going in for the kill. I have to help her. I have to help her. China, don't screw this up. China, with her whole body trembling like a newborn lamb, tried to stand. Shiki, throwing a knife to keep the dragon in check, rushed to rescue her. But the dragon had anticipated it. From the repeated patterns, he had predicted what Shiki would do. Light lit up the inside of the dragon's mouth, a menacing red glow. Fire breath. If she got hit by it, Shiki would be obliterated. The instant that terrifying breath was about to be unleashed at Shiki, Frau's hand moved. Fire! Water curtain! Move! She activated the mana she had loaded into her right hand and right foot simultaneously. She fired a wall of fire at the dragon's mouth, canceling out the fire breath. The resulting steam explosion blasted Shiki backward. Watching that out of the corner of her eye, Frau leapt with magic and landed beside China, grabbing her by the collar and lifting her up. Right above them, the dragon's rear leg began to descend. She activated the mana in her remaining left leg. Move! Like being rammed by a boar, Frau and China blasted sideways. This chick's a lot like Rudius. The way she fights is so much like Rudius. This feels like a prototype Rudius. Again, if this is like one of the very early stories that Refugin had wrote, even prior to Mushoku Tensei itself, this is probably like prototype Rudius right here. What did it say at the beginning? 3 years before Mushoku Tensei was wrote. Again, this feels like a prototype Rudius. The way that she fights is so much like Rudius, using magic to propel herself around and using things in odd ways. I mean, it implies that she's like a genius, that she learned magic very quickly and she's really good. It's just unfortunate that it was a faction battle happening. Like, she could have been something great. It's just a stupid faction battles happening. But yeah, this feels like Rudius. The dragon's leg came crashing down where they had just been. The ground burst apart. They escaped by a hair's breadth. Are you okay? Frau looked down at China. Her armor was cracked all over, but luckily, she wasn't dead. She was dazed, but still conscious. The king dragon's gravity magic had likely been absorbed by the armor, but that wasn't enough to completely block it. The damage definitely got through to her. Frau looked over at Shiki. Shiki was crouched by the edge of the cave wall. She'd been flung into it by a shockwave, slammed hard, her lungs forced to expel air, causing her to have difficulty breathing. The king dragon silently looked down at Frau. All hope was lost. I was wondering. I thought it was earlier, but then she went in there and rescued. Here's gonna come. Here's the time for my boy to walk in the room. The only magic she had left loaded was a water hammer spell on her staff. It was powerful, but not enough to turn the tide. A despairing red glow lit up in the king dragon's mouth. Frau looked up at him and thought, "So that's it, huh? That was quick." And then ow. It's so cheesy. It's so cheesy. Did they ever have a chance at winning against this thing? Did they rush in without a plan, wasted their efforts, and ended up dying for nothing? It's pointless to reflect on how they could have won now. So I've given up. That's when it happened. Fire, multiple arrows of light pierced the dragon. What? Is this Barkov? Is this Barkle or whatever his name is? Form Felix, charge. They were a group clad in dazzling white armor. They formed a tight formation and charged at the king dragon in unison. The king dragon responded, retracting the flames in his mouth. "Don't let him use gravity magic. Holy casters, to the front." At the command of the rough-looking man standing at the center, the rear guard, the group that had launched the light arrows, moved to the front. They had staves shaped like swords. All of them were magic wielders. Or rather, sacred arts bestowed by St. Millis, bestowed by the Black Queen's blessing. The ancestor of Lord A shall become a heroic spirit in the form of a tin blade. A verse from Millis' holy scriptures. Frau watched as the king dragon's gravity magic was obliterated. Like just a countering? Like using some sort of way of countering itself? Or is this just spell magic? Or disrupt magic? His defensive barrier gone. Neutralizing gravity magic was standard procedure for taking down king dragons. Without his gravitational field, he couldn't support his own weight. Until he could cast the spell again, he would be forced to crawl like a caterpillar and spit red flames at the white knights as a last resort. I did get the indication earlier that it was flying. But again, that makes sense if it's using gravity magic to keep itself flying, because that's what these dragons specifically do. I just didn't think inside this cave he was, keeping himself up. Seems like these guys know exactly what they're doing. Pointless. The official knights were clad in exorcist armor, which was protected by sacred defensive magic. At most, it gave their skin a light blush, like that of maidens in love. The white-armored knights rushed the dragon, which could barely move, and just like that, the king dragon, that had tormented Frau and the others, died all too quickly. Okay, so this isn't the king of the king dragons. I don't know, it gave an impression they were fighting the king of king dragons, because it was bigger than the other king dragons. That was like, no way that was it. There's no way that was it. That is not the king of king dragons right there. So they were having a lot of difficulty with just a normal king dragon right here. In the cave, reeking of the king dragon's blood so thick it made her nauseous, Frau and the others were grouped together, surrounded. Their weapons had been confiscated, but they weren't bound. Since it was impossible to break the exorcist's armor barehanded, the knights must have decided restraints were unnecessary. Apparently, the holy knights were more gentlemanly than the rumors said. With stoic expressions, they kept watch over the three and the surroundings. A few were inspecting the king dragon's corpse, but not everyone was a gentleman. China was being grabbed by the collar by a man with a vulgar face. Barkle. I'm about to say, I'm surprised they're still alive because Barkle, I'm assuming, was leading them. She didn't know his full name or title. He was just some big shot in the Holy Knight's order. That was the extent of Frau's knowledge. They had spoken directly when they had crushed the rising sun, so she recognized him. But he didn't spare Frau a glance. Whether he was ignoring her or only had eyes for Shina, Frau didn't know. Did you know, Shina? There's a bounty on the Death God's Knight from St. Millis. You're the one who put the bounty out, didn't you? Sure did. For the comrades who died because of your betrayal. That's rich. Maybe I should tell these kids who really did the betraying. Can I have you filling my subordinate's head with lies? Barkle sneered wickedly. It looked like a scene from a bandit leader who was about to defile a noble girl from a carriage they had just raided. But Barkle wouldn't go that far. From what Frau could tell, Barkle valued money far more than lust. No matter how he felt for Shina, he restrained himself in front of his subordinates, and he certainly wouldn't kill Shina in a fit of emotion. Yeah, he seems much more calculative than that. Still, today's been a damn lucky day. We took down the king of the king dragons, and I get to finish you off too. Best day of my life, huh? Gotta be St. Millis' blessing. He's saying the king... This is not... No. Okay, so this wasn't misread by me. They literally thought that was the king of the king dragon. That's why it was laid out that way. They literally thought that was the king of the... It's not going to be. There ain't no way that went down that easy. This entire freaking book is about the subjugation of this king of the king dragons. Now, it's the story of these individuals subjugating, and it's their story during that process. So this could technically be it, but if that was it, that's a bit of a that's a little bit of a letdown. For me, it's the worst day ever. Even as she said that, Shanna's eyes kept flickering around restlessly. She was likely searching for a way to at least get Frau and Shiki out of there. Frau thought this was none of her business. But then, one of the knights who had been inspecting the dragon's corpse returned. Still, the so-called King of the King Dragons went down pretty easy. We hit with everything, thinking that it was a legendary creature, but... what the... Barkle frowned after his subordinate whispered in his ear. Almost simultaneously, the knight watching the entrance shouted, "Enemy attack!" The moment she saw it, Frau felt a surge of awe. It was a gigantic dragon. Okay. There it is. Oh, man. The dragon that the Holy Knights had just slain was huge too, but this one was even bigger. His body was covered in old scars, evidence of countless battles. He was clad in golden scales, not the dull yellow of the king dragons, but a brilliant, polished gold, refined over hundreds of years, worthy of the title of King Dragon. The golden hide covered a body packed with muscles that were trained with clear intent, unlike any wild beast. Just by looking, it was clear that they weren't for show. It was easy to believe that such a massive body supported his own weight without gravity magic. He's like, again, it implied that it studied in like human arts and stuff like that. This is probably the one dragon out of all of them is just sitting there like, you know, just doing push-ups off of the side while all the other ones are gravity magicking themselves. He's doing push-ups. An overwhelming presence radiated from every inch of him. If previous king dragons was like a tavern bouncer, this one was a legendary sword master who carved his way into the continent's history. And more than anything, his eyes were different. They weren't the eyes of a beast that could be dismissed as such. They were the eyes filled with intelligence. With just one glance, a name came to mind naturally. Kajikut, king of the king dragons. And I'm going to call it there. I was looking for a stopping point. I'm going to call it there. The arrival of the king dragons. That's a perfect point to stop it at. And we'll continue next week for how this battle lays out. But yeah, that was confusing. Like going into this chapter, I'm going, okay, now we're getting Frau's perspective, which is cool. You know, getting to get into Frau's story, which we've taken time with each of the characters, you know, Cheeky, and then getting into Shaina, getting into each character's like history while kind of also giving them a perspective chapter, which I actually like. I would have liked this to be one sort of writing style that he carried over is, okay, here's a character, here's a little bit about them, and let's have a perspective of them and how they think about the current situation as the current situation unfolds. It gives you both, again, it carries on the current story, while at the same time giving you a little bit more insight into how they think about things, which is really cool. Because up to this point, I figured this girl was like, almost like traumatized. Like there was a massive PTSD that really messed with her because the way that she spoke and everything, I almost had a sense that she got messed with. That something, that whole traumatic experience jostled something in her. But obviously, as we see, that's not the case. This girl was a little bit of a mastermind with a lot of the stuff that happened in the last few chapters. So she's not too innocent. She got the leader of this entire faction killed. Which again, I'm kind of curious as to why she was allowed to join with this whole group. You'd think it would just be the boss of that one side, and he'd want his men to be with him. But anyways, good set of chapters. Good stuff. I really did enjoy this. Getting into again more of the hero stuff with Alex, which has always been kind of an interesting thing. And I will kind of say that I'm seeing a little bit of inconsistency with how he sort of finds about this information. It doesn't really line up too much with Alex's perspective in the mainline series. Because again, the mainline series got the idea that he had this weapon that was really powerful. Then at some point he realized that he was relying on the weapon too much, not necessarily his skill. Which sort of does go counter with what the conversation was with the the Phoenixes? What the muscle people? The muscle people that are just chilling out in the forest, just doing push-ups while everybody else is fighting over this king dragon. They're over here eating meat and doing push-ups. With what they kind of were talking about, with the people being too reliant on weapons. It literally was Alex's story was a realization of being too reliant on the weapon. And that's what led him to basically give up the sword and then go out and just train with sticks. That's what got him to pick up the stick and train with a stick. So it kind of feels a little bit jarring here, but not enough to ruin it. It's not enough to ruin it. I do like this stuff. So cool stuff. I'm glad that Kajakut wasn't a big letdown of a story. I think this stuff is going to get really crazy going forward. No doubt these knights are dead. Just curious how long, and if all of Alex's members stay alive. That'll be the curious thing. There could be also a good chance that, just for the sake of drama, having Barkov, I keep forgetting his name every time I want to think of it. I so don't want to remember this dude. Barkov? Barkle. I'm curious if Barkle, for the sake of drama, will survive. And then at the very end, he's going to go in for some sort of killing blow on somebody after Kajakut dies. And maybe potentially somebody might get injured, or then Alex steps in. But anyways, yes, like I said, I'm gonna call it there. We'll be back next week for the battle against Kajakut. Hopefully, old Alex decides to show up anytime soon. That'd be great. But we'll see. But I hope you guys enjoyed this Mushoku Monday. As always, thank you guys so much for dropping by for the premiere. Hey chat, hope you guys had fun. As always, before you leave, make sure to hit that like button down there. Even if you can't support other ways, that's the easiest way. It's free. It's just a click. It just takes like a little bit of an energy surge through the systems to tell it. And it helps me out. I greatly appreciate it. You guys are meaning a lot to me. Your guys' kind words, all that stuff. And yes, as per usual, greatly appreciate it. Support channel monetarily through Patreon, tips, links, super thanks, memberships, all that stuff. Thank you. It means a lot to me. But until the next Mushoku Monday, y'all take care. What? Okay, here we go. Here's our first time. We got to figure out who's talking. Shiki thinks about time, so she's talking in third person probably to pull off that. It's about to get dark. Might be safer to camp out instead of heading back to town. Who says that? ... I'm guessing that's Shiki. Shina words cut. Okay, so now we have to go back. Okay, it's Shina. Without the movement granted by grass, without the movement granted by grass style battle mat. That's why I've gotten the whole death. That's why I've gotten the whole Death God's Night. That's why I've gotten the whole Death God Night. That's why I've gotten the whole Death God's Night label. That's why I've gotten this whole. And that's why I've gotten this whole. The demon god had given each dragon king a name. The king of the king dragons, Kajakut. The king of the red dragons, Salyat. The king of the sea dragons, Red Rift. The king of the sea dragons, Red Lift. The king of the black dragons, Lagork. Lagorkic. The king of the black dragons, Lagorkic. The king of the black dragons, Lagorkic. The king of the blue dragons, Raktorak. The king of the blue dragons are Torque, Latorak, Raktorak, Raktorak,